I have watched a lot of horror movies in my life. Horror movies that are your simple and generic jump scare slop that offers nothing more than that, original concepts that find themselves being some of the more iconic horror films ever, to even the more allegorical horror that has a message or a semblance of social commentary to it that makes it more terrifying because of that. That is what today's video is centered around, as I explore a horror movie that I just saw for the first time called The Babadook, a movie that came out back in 2014 that shocked the horror community and has become a staple within horror movie lovers as one of their favorite films ever. For those of you who are new here, welcome to my channel, Film Obsessed, where I talk about everything that I love and enjoy in the world of movies and television. In this new film analysis of mine, I am going to explore why The Babadook defines the idea of allegorical horror to the extreme. So with that being said, sit back, relax, grab some popcorn, and I hope you enjoy the video. The movie follows a single mother, plagued by the death of her husband, who battles with her son's fear of a monster lurking in the house after reading him a book called The Babadook, and soon discovers a sinister presence is all around her based off that very book that she did read to her son. For someone like me, when it comes to watching movies and television shows, I normally know what my reaction is to them as far as how I feel about the quality of said television show or movie. The horror genre might be one of the most concrete genres of entertainment that I usually give a good reaction to after seeing something for the first time. But today, we finally have one that perplexed me enough to the point where after I finished watching it, I had no reaction. I didn't know how to feel about The Babadook, and so I had to give it a couple of days before I truly gave my final thoughts to what I saw. I think it's been long enough now, and so with that being said, I do think that The Babadook is a good film, and one that, as I said, already defines the allegorical nature of certain great horror films of its kind. This is a very depressing film, and I jokingly said after watching it that it would make you wish that you never had kids ever in the future, and I think that our main kid in this movie, Samuel, is the very reason why that's the case, because man was he annoying as fuck to begin with. I mean, oh my god, I wanted to turn this movie off with how annoying he was. I am young enough now to the point where I am nowhere near close to that kind of life, but this movie made me understand every one of the troubles that a parent goes through. I could see where it was going with its commentary because of that very thing. I think that our main two characters of Amelia and Samuel, played by Essie Davis and Noah Wiseman, were fantastic. Essie Davis, in my mind, probably should have been nominated for an Oscar on this performance alone because she went there when it came to showing her character's pain and suffering. I think the director Jennifer Kent also plays a big part in how that performance came out, so she also deserves credit. Overall, this is a really good film, and I understand why the conversation around it when it first came out was booming, with people giving it massive praise and it being recognized as one of the best horror films that has come out in the modern era. What I believe to be the defining reason for that, as I mentioned already, is because it explored an allegory and aspect of social commentary that made the horror aspects of it branch out to the rest of the story and its characters beautifully. The allegory explores the very nature of what it means to be a parent, a grieving one at that with a young child. I applaud the fact that the story is about this mother who just lost her husband and is now going through an even worse time of her life because this book called The Babadook came along and is now causing a rift between her and her own child, who is all the family that she has left. The Babadook, in essence, is what is representative of that rift. It is the entity that masks itself in the allegory of family issues, mental health, parental abuse, losing friendships, and as I said, the idea of what it means to be a parent who now has the sole responsibility of taking care of a child who is afraid of everything around him, including his mom at times. I think the film does a great job in convincing you that the Babadook might be a real thing that exists, even though technically it is not. Jennifer Kent, the film's director, says that she improvised from the word Babadook because it is a Serbo-Croatian word that means the boogeyman. For those watching the video, did it ever occur to you that it was or wasn't real based on the idea for a lot of people that they could have theorized it was just all in Amelia's head? Because I think that this is the greatest possible indication to show that this was more of an allegorical horror film as opposed to it actually showing that the monster was real. I think it became quite clear for me it was on the more allegorical path of commentating what it was as soon as we got to the moment in the film when the Babadook takes over Amelia's body. She turns into the very thing that she was afraid of becoming to her kid, and you never want to see that out of a parent, especially with this particular parent-to-child relationship in the film. It's almost in a way a teaching lesson to any one parent out there who might be going through tough times with their child, or if they have multiple kids. I'm sure the stress of that particular role in life is something that always eats away at people, and I think that the Babadook helps to give us a slideshow presentation of that through every single one of the scenes that progresses through the first, second, and third acts that lead up to that chaotic ending. If you are a parent watching this video and you have seen this movie, does what I say make sense in a way that resonates with you as someone who has kids? Or let's do the vice versa. If there is someone in here who had parents who went through stressful times caring for you as a kid, what was that like in a way that maybe this film showcases to be true? I'll be very curious to see you talk about that below in the comments. I think something else that makes this movie way more layered and authentic to the idea of what makes a great horror film is that it doesn't rely on making its characters stupid off the dumb decisions they make or through the cliche and sloppy use of jump scares that so many horror films lose themselves in because they've got nothing else better to do. It uses imagery off the look of the Babadook character to elicit a reaction and the tension to make his presence known in many scenes. One of my personal sayings as it relates to horror films that I have spoken to before goes like this: jump scares should only be used if they pertain to the story of the film and the actions of the antagonist that is supposed to be feared towards your main characters. Random jump scares don't do anything but just be thrown in there because a filmmaker lacks the idea of knowing what makes something terrifying, or an executive asks the filmmakers to put a bunch in there because they think they know that that is what sells, but it doesn't. Now let's be clear. When I say this, there are a few jump scares in the movie, but they do what I just said to be right. They are used from our antagonist to put fear within our main characters. Amelia is frightened at those moments that are happening around her because she doesn't know what's going on when you factor in how much you feel for her in the moments of her pain and stress as a parent. It makes you care for her as a character. And that leads into the other point that I just mentioned, in that she's a character that doesn't make dumb decisions that allow for the antagonist to one-up on her. Too many horror movies write characters that way, where they make you believe the antagonist is as horrifying as they are, but in actuality it was more so of the main characters you follow who got themselves into those positions in the first place, as opposed to the antagonist putting them there. Also, before anybody jumps on that point to quote-unquote shit on modern movies, this has been something the horror genre has been doing for a very long time now, going back to the early days of when the genre was taking off. It's been a thing this genre has been doing for a while now, but The Babadook is one of those films that strayed away from it, which is why it is as good as it is. There's another good saying that I think all filmmakers should really follow because it elevates any genre that you make a movie out of. Story does not drive your characters. The characters are what drive the story. If you don't care about the characters, then you are not going to care about anything else that's going on because they are what you are following throughout every second of the runtime. In the case of it being a horror movie, you could also say that you can't let the cliches, jump scares, and whatnot drive it either, because then it becomes your typical horror movie slop that's been done so many times before. Jennifer Kent wrote and directed the film, and I think that she had a good idea as to the kind of story she wanted to tell, but also the philosophies in mind that make for a great story. She wanted to make all this movie centered around our two main characters. It makes it more linear that way, and also doesn't distract you from anything else going on. One of the best scenes that she directs is when we see Amelia go into a doctor to figure out why Samuel is acting the way he is. When she has that breakdown in front of the doctor, all you get is her performance and a focus towards what the scene is trying to communicate with her character. I even liked the scenes where the husband is brought into the equation as a manifestation of what she sees in the sense of the Babadook masquerading as her husband. The rest of the movie has many more of these kinds of scenes, but those few examples are, I think, what resonates for why the rest of it works so well with the points that I just described. The final thing in this film analysis I want to discuss is the ending, because I think it is a great representation of the entire process of the allegory that this movie communicates to the audience. We see that after Samuel and Amelia defeat the Babadook and trap it within the basement of their house, that their lives start going back to normal again, and in a way where both of them can feel happy with each other. They both went through an instance of a hard time in life that they were able to get over and realize there is much more than the grief and pain they suffer from, and that if they work together to defeat it, then they both will come out happier for each other. Most of the time when you see a parent and their child go on bad terms in a relationship, they always always find a way to come out of it with love for one another. No matter how many times they get into an argument or how much suffering they go through, they always love each other, as that is the basis for what makes for a good family. You never want to resort to the bad tendencies that could turn you into something you don't want to be, and look for the love that both of them have for each other, because that's truly all you will ever need in the end. So there you have it, my film analysis of the movie The Babadook. What do you all think? Leave your comments down below on what you think about the movie and my analysis of it. Thank you for stopping by my channel, Film Obsessed. If you want to see more moving forward from me with regards to film and television and you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and also subscribe if you are new here and turn on that notification bell. I'm trying to build a film community on this channel and your support would be greatly appreciated. That's a wrap, folks. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day, and I will see you all soon for the next video.